Sharon Makgedi Makaleng from South Africa, affiliated with the Tshwane University of Technology. And I will be presenting one of the variables from our study, which is the reverse logistics best practices in the fast-moving consumer goods sector, funded by the University of South Africa, as well as the National Research Fund. I belong in the supply chain track, not marketing, just a disclaimer, in supply chain and logistics. For this presentation, I will look at the introduction, I will review the literature, going into the problem statement, the research objectives, the design and the methodology, the implications, recommendations, and finally, the conclusion. With reverse logistics, I'm sure all of us here have came across it sometimes in our lives because it is the return of a product. Whether you were not happy with a certain product, you returned it to the store, whether it has expired, or sometimes even with recalls. We are all exposed to reverse logistics. Attention now towards the reverse logistics best practices have increased because of the ecology of our world, as well as because of the government coming in with some policies around reverse logistics because of sustainability. We have authors such as Abbas and friends, as well as Prakash and friends, that have also now just indicated the importance of reverse logistics best practices and also now recommended it as a future study for other authors out there. So with the fast-moving consumer goods, it is an important sector because of the GDP that it brings within our world. And however, it is viewed as an unpredictable sector because you can never really know that people can return products. We can only focus the demand of a product and not necessarily people bringing back that particular product. So we need to ensure that it is implemented. If it is not implemented, we need to ensure that it is, or we can refine it so that it can assist firms in leading to firm competitiveness. We have different definitions from different authors about reverse logistics, and Murphy and Poist mentioned that it is just a reversal of products from a consumer to the producer. And then Stock came in that said, we are just looking at dealing with hazardous and non-hazardous products. However, for the purpose of the study, we worked along with Nima that mentioned that with reverse logistics, these are all the activities that are now involved in moving the product from the point of consumption to the point of origin, looking at some important reverse logistics practices, such as disposal, repackaging, recycling, remanufacturing. Today in the morning when I was walking along the streets of London, I saw this big trash bin that indicated recycling, and I don't know if people can put coins in there. Some of you that are from London would be familiar with that. And I was surprised because where I come from in the townships, you find that people on Wednesdays, when they take out their trash, people would then come to their bins and then they would take out all the bottles, all the recyclable materials, and then they would then crush those recyclable products so that they can get some sort of income from all of that. So I was surprised to see that with London, they're taking it very seriously because of those big trash cans that I saw, which is something that can also now be, I took a couple of pictures so that maybe we can also now sell it to our country in order to improve the reverse logistics. There have been numerous authors that conducted a study on reverse logistics. We have Sorkun and One. I think they're from India. They investigated the difference of motivations in firms to employ the reverse logistics networks. Wiggins only looked at the critical success factors in the supply chain. And then Omorui and Chinomona examined the reverse logistics practices on firm performance in SMEs in Gauteng. When looking at the practices, not best practices, we have Hove, Sibanda and friends that looked at the sustainability of reverse logistics practices as a source of competitive advantage in the SMEs. And then we also had Abaz that inspected adult practices in pharmaceutical firms. We also had Omwenga that investigated the effects of reverse logistics practices in the packaging manufacturing firms in Nairobi. So when we look at all of these studies, none of them tapped into the best practices of reverse logistics, and none of them focused on the fast-moving consumer goods sector that is bringing in a lot of recyclable products and that is recalling a lot of products. Some of the best reverse logistics practices included, but they are not limited to, establishing centralized return centers where people can return these particular products, just like London's with having all of these big trash cans along the roads, establishing a gatekeeping function, collaborating and sharing information with other FMCG retailers, as well as using return softwares and outsourcing reverse logistics. With the problem statements, like I've mentioned, with the reverse logistics being unpredictable, we cannot forecast it. With the demand of a product, we can forecast using moving average. We can forecast it using the Delphi method. However, with reverse logistics, you never really know when there's going to be a recall. You never really know that people are going to return a product. The literature review also indicated the gap between reverse logistics and best practices, especially within this particular sector. So therefore, it led to this particular study. We had a number of recalls in our country. The listeriosis saga, which cost a lot of billions. And unfortunately, we had some casualties as well with this particular recall. We also had the Coop baked beans recall. We also had the Pilchards recall that we did not anticipate. In all over the world, I think with some other products, not in the FMCG, you also had recalls such as the Samsung. And when I was traveling this side, in the flight, they did mention that if your phone is overheating, please just inform us. So that was interesting because in our country, when you fly, they never really tell you that. So it was interesting now to see that other countries are also really taking this serious because of the recall that happened with Samsung, you know, your Ford Kuga also now overheating. The objectives, like I said, we had a lot of different variables, but we focused on the reverse logistics best practices, examining them and identifying these particular reverse logistics best practices. The research methodology, we used a positivist research philosophy. The design was descriptive and explanatory, and the approach was quantitative. With the sampling design, our sample was in South Africa, Pretoria. We looked at fast-moving consumer goods, retailers as well as consumers, but for the purpose of this presentation, I will focus on customers, and it was a non-probability purposive sampling method. The sample size was 500. This was before the POPI Act came into effect. So before then, it made our lives easier because we could use the databases of the fast-moving consumer goods retailers. We could also now use an online survey on social media platforms. Your LinkedIn, we could share the survey via email, your WhatsApp, your Facebook, but for the people that are in South Africa. In order to ensure the quality of our data, we tested for validity, we've tested for reliability. We were ethical in conducting the study. It was approved by the different institutions and the funding companies, and we also ran a pilot test. With the analysis, we used the SPSS, version 27, and descriptive statistics. The response rate was good. It was 80%. And from the questions that we were asking, we found that the use of advanced technology and systems is highly implemented. And we also have collaboration with other FMCG retailers and transportation companies that are being outsourced in assisting with reverse logistics. We also had collaboration with suppliers. However, we found that the gatekeeping function that deals with the return product is not really implemented. And we also found that collaboration with customers is not really implemented, because with customers, when they have an issue with the product, they do not necessarily know how to return the product or what happens with the product when it gets returned to the store. The overall mean was 3.33 because the major of the respondents indicated that some of these practices are moderately implemented. And with the Cronbach Alpha as well as with the composite reliability, it was between 0.821 and 0.929. That signified a construct involved in the study are considered reliable. The implications thereof, it was recognized and highlighted that the fast-moving consumer goods retail sectors, unfortunately, with some of them, were not really aware of some of these reverse logistics best practices, and therefore it was suggested that they conduct a SWOT analysis looking at the reversal of the products, conducting a risk assessment, and also planning and prioritizing the implementation and the improvement of the reverse logistics best practices, monitor, evaluate, and improve the RL implementation for the success of their organizations so that they can achieve firm competitiveness. Since they were not aware, some of them, we did recommend that they have trainings, they educate their staff, they have conferences just like this so that they can enhance and improve the reverse logistics implementation, looking at the policies and practices so that they can harness these particular reverse logistics best practices. Moreover, we heard some of the colleagues that mentioned the importance, I think with Julia there, she mentioned the importance of technology in all of this. So since we are growing in technology and the rapid growth of technology, we can also use social media so that we can also now assist others out there who are laymen that don't necessarily understand about this, to have podcasts, YouTube, so that people can be aware, they could be made aware of reverse logistics because it affects our environment, pollution. Others are just discarding all of these products in their backyard. So they need to be aware of how they can return these products and what happens after the reversal of those particular products, because with firms, we know that it can assist them achieve the competitiveness as well as save some operating costs. So this study has contributed in literature, in academia, as well as has assisted the fast-moving consumer goods retailers, because we are working with them in CETAs, so that whatever it is that we find in research, then they can also implement it within their organizations, and it does not really end on paper or with presentations. In our countries, people are selling these recyclable products, which also now gives them an opportunity to make some sort of money out of that. So they look at it as an entrepreneurship saving method and getting money from that particular recycling products. And that also ensures that we meet the environmental protocols that our countries are also setting up. And that ensures that as customers, we are certified and we ensure that there's value in all of these products. It can also assist managers in ensuring that they do adhere to some of the practices that our government has so that we can save the ecosystem. And we also urge other future researchers to continue now delving in this particular topic, which is important. And they can also do that in other sectors, in other countries, in other provinces as well. And that is it.